Hey Corey, how are you today?
Hi, Melanie. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Before we begin, I just want to go over a few things. I do want to let you know that this meeting is being recorded, and I do want to get that permission from you to record this video. It's being recorded for educational purposes. Is that okay?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I also want to let you know that anything that we discuss in our meeting today is confidential. However, if I feel that you are of any harm to yourself or to anyone else, and if I feel that you bring up something in the meeting and it has to do with any type of elderly abuse, I would also have to relinquish the video. Do you understand that as well?
Yes, I do.
Got you. And then there is one other reason that I would have to relinquish the video, and that is if the court appoints me to do so. Is that also something that you understand?
Yes, it is.
Got you. Got you. Great. So
Mhm.
before we begin, I just want to let you know a little bit about myself. I am an Adlerian therapist. And what that means is we are going to work together and you are going to pretty much take control and be in charge because you are the expert. And I will just be here, to provide any support or encouragement. If we get down the line and we have to, come up with some goals and just to, pretty much figure out some things that are going to work with you. So that's just kind of how my style of therapy works.
Mhm.
This session will pretty much be a get to know Corey. It will be an assessment, and I will definitely be learning a lot about you within this first session.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, I'll let you go ahead and begin and tell me why you're here today.
Um, I just lately it's just I've been dealing with a lot of death in my family.
Mm-hmm.
Just yesterday, we buried my uncle.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a week before that, we buried a very close cousin of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then, maybe about 4 or 5 months prior to that, it was my aunt. And then maybe about 5 or 6 months prior to hers was my mother's death.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just, just thinking about, all of this death in my life right now. And it's just kind of getting me down, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like really feel like really bad. And then, what I tend to do when I'm feeling bad like this and things and so forth. I do talk to people and I do say things, but if it's say for instance if it's like a new relationship or something with someone, I tend to maybe divulge too much because you know I feel as though that if I'm able to express my feelings that it'll just be better for me. But
Mm-hmm.
then some people they get kind of turned off by that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
maybe it's just a little too much. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? So,
Yes.
just basically, I've, just been really struggling with that lately. And then today, it just really came on pretty hard in all different aspects of it. So, you know, that's primarily why I'm here today.
Okay. So I just want to recap and make sure that I have everything received correctly. So over the past couple of months and even yesterday, you've been dealing with a lot of death in your family, and you're to the point where you don't really know how to deal with it. And whenever you do tend to talk to people, whether it's new relationships, you feel like sometimes it can be a bit much. Does that sound correct?
Yes, it does.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And it's just, the whole, I guess, what is the word I'm looking for? Maybe bothersome approach that I have. I don't know. It just seems like, when I try to talk about it, like I just don't know how to shift my gears, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because I'm, just I'm a grad student and I'm studying to be a therapist. So, one thing that I learned is that, it's best to be honest with your feelings and be able to talk about them and things and so forth. But in reality, a lot of people can't handle that. Like just, like your family members or a significant other or
Mm-hmm.
things and so forth. And that becomes like really frustrating as well.
Mm-hmm. And I can understand how, wanting a voice and express how you're feeling, and it can be frustrating sometimes, especially when somebody doesn't know exactly how you're feeling.
Right.
That can definitely be very frustrating, and I understand that.
Absolutely.
So, who do you normally reach out to whenever you are trying to express yourself?
That's a good question. I don't really have like a go-to, if you will.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's usually like whoever is accessible.
Okay.
And lately it's been, I guess, if you will, like someone that I've been dating, So
Mhm.
I just think that when people say, "Oh, you could tell me anything, or we can talk about anything," like they really don't mean. Well, I'm not saying everybody, but some people really just don't mean that, or they just don't have the ability to handle the things that you may say to them.
Right.
And basically, as far as like my dealing with what this, with death and with the deaths in my family, I've been talking about it. I've just been, like it's making me feel bad. And, there's just sometimes whereas like, I just say, when is it going to end?
Mhm.
I mean, it's just, it just seems like, it's just been so, oh boy, just so consistent lately, as far as
Mhm.
with death, it's just been crazy. It's just been crazy. And I understand that everybody's not going to have the same perceptions about death and things and so, or any of its attachments. But, you know, it's really hard at the same token not to have a go-to that can understand you.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like to like really understand you, not agree or
Mhm.
or feel intimidated because of what, they think you may know. You know what I mean? So then some people become defensive,
Mhm.
and it just gets tiring after a while. It really does.
Yeah. I do want to ask, do you have any siblings at all?
Yes, I have an older sister, and she's like very ill.
Okay.
She has congenital heart failure. She has and renal failure, um, diabetes,
Mhm.
and she presently lives like in an assisted living home, like where people have to help her with
Mhm.
daily activities.
Right.
So, I don't even have her, you know.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have some sort of resentment about that because, my sister chose to do things, and that's why she's in the position she's in. You
Mhm.
and prior to her getting so sick, I was like one of her primary caretakers, like me and her son. But
Mhm.
then, it just gotten so bad, and we were both men, so we couldn't really do like clean her up or do things like that. So,
Mhm.
you know, I was like trying to find some sort of like nursing home or assisted living program like she's in now, just, to help her get, back on track or at least give her a quality of life until, it's over.
Mhm.
But, yeah, I do. I have some animosity about that. Like, you're supposed to be that go to, you know,
Right.
and we all just been through a bunch of things lately, and when I mean we all, I'm talking about me and my family.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it's just really disheartening, like that's what my feeling has been lately, like disheartening. And just getting back to what I was trying to describe before, like, and then when you meet somebody new and then you're just, you feel comfortable. So then you're talking,
Mm-hmm.
and you just, I guess, just don't know when to stop. And then you're like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to sign up for this or, that type of thing. But yeah, I just, I really don't have a go-to to
Okay.
speak on a day-to-day.
Okay. Can you tell me what your relationship was like growing up, you and your sister?
Very close.
Okay.
We were very close. And I mean, like through thick and thin, we were, me and my sister was very close. And, I guess also as well, not having that closeness anymore,
Mm-hmm.
that's bothersome because I know honestly that if I continue to try to invest myself in that relationship,
Mm-hmm.
that it's just going to continue to take a toll on me,
Okay.
So I've distanced myself from it because I just don't need that distraction in my life, going to school, and I'm just going back to work as a substitute teacher. So, it's just some things right now that I can't afford to be distracted. But,
Okay.
but then when I met this person just recently, and it was just, I guess maybe because I just been going through so much
Mm-hmm.
that, I was just like, yeah, gun ho about it. Oh, and, just excited
Mm-hmm.
about it. But uh, I don't think that how can I say, relying on people as far as like, relationship wise is suitable for me right now. I mean, I would want it. I would like a relationship with people, but I mean, like a partner relationship, but
Okay.
you know, but getting back to my sister, we were very close. We were very close, and I'm hurt by the way that that she is going through the things she's going through.
Mm-hmm.
And our mother will always, told us both, when she would, when I'm gone, you got to make sure you guys stick together and take care of each other and things and so forth. And it's definitely not that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Before your sister ended up getting sick, when did it start to when you guys were not as close anymore?
um, right up until the point of her hospitalization, maybe about 6 months ago.
Okay.
Maybe about 6 months ago. That's when I started distancing myself from her.
Mhm. Is there a reason why you began to distance yourself from her?
Because that's a good question. Because I just I'm tired. I mean, because it was like I did so much for her,
Mm-hmm.
all through her life. I mean, and here I was the youngest. I'm the youngest sibling, but my sister was always in some nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she was always able to maintain a job and and things and so forth, but she was always into some either some drugs or some something crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So I always was the responsible one,
Okay.
you know, and right up until whereas I couldn't take care of her anymore, I was still that responsible one. And
Mm-hmm.
now that, I'm getting back on my feet and I'm trying to do the things I need to do, uh, it just seems like, if I had my sister to help me, then I would feel a lot better. you know,
Yeah.
and I could have that relationship with, that go-to go and talk to somebody about those things, but cognitively she can't even really register with half, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
so, I'll be talking to her and she'll just go off into another whole situation. And I believe that was something that had to do with when, because she almost died,
Mhm.
and she was in a coma. So I think maybe that time, that the air didn't get to her brain or whatever the
Mhm.
case was, that there was
Mhm.
damage, that there was some damage.
Mhm.
And, it's just the whole situation is just really just quite unfortunate.
Mhm.
You know? So,
So, if do you believe that, if your sister was fine and everything was okay, do you think that your sister would be one of the people, or you said your go-to, do you think that your sister would be your go-to?
oh, absolutely. Absolutely, she would. She would have been my go-to to, help me deal with a lot of things, because even in the process of, like, when my mother passed, you know,
Mhm.
I had to, make all the arrangements. I had to do.
Mhm.
And it was not just for her, but it was for her and, a couple of her kids and her grandchildren and, you know,
Mhm.
and I sacrificed so much for them. And,
Okay.
now it's just, you know, there's nobody there for me. Not just in the sense of just having some sort of connectedness with,
Mhm.
with someone to just talk about the things that bother me. And, I don't have that in my family. Well, my
Mm.
family, at least.
Right. So I can see where there's like a gap between, you wanting to have that relationship with your sister and now not being able to have that relationship with your sister, for
Yeah.
her to be that go-to so you could express some of those things to her. Was it like that while y'all were growing up?
Yes. We like, it wasn't like she would be able to even like solve my issues if there wasn't,
Mhm.
because it was always I was solving hers. But
Okay.
just on the level of, like, you know, I'm feeling bad about something, or, I want to talk about something, and, whatever. She was good for that.
Okay.
She was good for that. But, as far as like depending on her or trying to, like, if I needed anything from her financially or things like that, that wasn't really the deal then. And even when she did start really, was able to, I
Mhm.
still didn't have that. I still wouldn't ask her for things or whatever. But,
Mhm.
it just hurts that it's not the same. When
Mhm.
people say, oh, you got to accept change and you got to accept things that, change in your life or what have you. But yeah, you do, but it doesn't mean that you have to like it.
Mhm.
You know, I understand that, you do have to accept change, but, some changes you just don't like.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I did take notice in how at the beginning of the session you spoke about all of the deaths that you had dealt with, your mom and uncle and aunt. And now, as we begin to talk about your sister, it seems like a lot of it is more of your sister. Do you think so?
you're close to it. It does,
Okay.
in the essence, it does have a lot to do with my sister, because, you know, right about now, I need her.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I need my sister. I need someone to talk to,
And
or
I can see that.
to be, in that kind of, to have that closeness like I had with my sister. And,
Mhm.
it just really sucks that I don't have that anymore. So yeah, it's like, okay, it's all these deaths, and then, you know, how can I say it? Just daily situations that are not good.
Mhm.
And then, the connection to it all is, when these things have happened before, or when I wasn't feeling good about myself and things, I had my sister to at least to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, you're spot on with that aspect of it.
Okay. And I could see how it could be very difficult for you, especially since you said, while y'all were growing up, you know, y'all were together, and, your mom taught you guys to stick up for each other and to be there for each other. And for you not to have that now, especially, since you have lost so many people, I'm sure it is very difficult for you to do. And then I know you mentioned earlier about someone who was very new, who you had been expressing some of your emotions to. How is that relationship going as far as just being able to communicate?
Um, I it was okay until, maybe it was, I think I just maybe overstepped my bounds. You know what I mean? Because
Okay.
I just felt like it was very comfortable. Maybe it was like, oh, someone is talking to me, and we're having, conversations, and it just feels kind of nice, just having someone to talk to, and
Mm-hmm.
without just the newness of it. It's like that honeymoon period type of thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So then, I guess because of the things I've been through in life, maybe I go a little too fast in what I need to. You know what I mean? So, because I had so much loss. So I guess when when I do get a gain, I try to do everything quickly, not
Mm-hmm.
to, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay. Huh.
So
Wow.
it
Hmm.
seems to me like you just really want to be able to get it out and voice to somebody, and be able to be honest with that person and see that, hey, you are listening to me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Do you think that there's anything else within this first session that you would like to share about any of your experiences before we wrap it up?
No, I really thank you. You know, just that certain question that you asked me just a moment ago. I can't really say it verbatim, but
Mm-hmm.
it really brought me to a realization, a self-discovery,
Mm-hmm.
if you will. I really just self-discovered a feeling, or a something that I have to do, or something that I have to look at, in my personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Well,
thank you for that.
no problem. And that's great. And then with everything that we've gathered here today, hopefully with our next session, we can begin to, still talk about those things if we need to, make goals if we need to, just so you can be able to get out what you need to say. And I am here, if we do need to talk about anything. Okay.
I thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Cool. All right. We can switch roles
Hmm.
whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hi, Melody. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I just want to say before we start, I must inform you of your rights as the client and my rights as the therapist regarding, confidentiality and any type of communications and clinical record exchanges and things and so forth. And as well, this session is being recorded for quality insurance. My supervisor will take a look at this video and point out to me, this has nothing to do with you, but point out to me maybe different ways that I could serve you better, or help you, or address what we're talking about a little better. Are you okay with that?
Yes, that's fine.
I also want to say that as a mandated reporter, uh, I have to advise you that I have to report any kind of physical abuse to an elderly individual, to a child, in the realms of sexual abuse, physical abuse, any kind of abuse. I have to report that, and as well, I have to report threats of harm to yourself and others. Okay. Um, and if you ever feel in the need of like where things are just a little too much, by all means, get in touch with 911, and they will direct you to the right people to talk to, at least until I can get to you, or things and so forth. I also want to say to you that as far as like payment and things and so forth, you are responsibility. If you are responsible for fees of service, if like your insurance doesn't cover a certain portion or whatever, we'll work together. Well, I don't want you to stress about it, because what's more important is um, me helping you or me assisting you in your situation. So I don't want to make the financial aspect of it anymore more of a stressor. Okay.
Okay.
Um, and as well, what did I just wanted to say to you, we are of different, excuse me, we are of the same culture, and we're of, and things, and you're a man, I'm a man, and you're a woman. Is there any, do you have any difference about that? That,
Mm-mm.
that
No.
I'm a man and you're a woman, and we can, work together. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So moving forward, my approach that I'm going to, that I'm learning and what I'm going to use today is called Adlerian therapy. And this therapy is like a person-centered approach. And what I mean by person-centered, that is, it's one-on-one. It's like really like you're trying to really get to know the person, and the therapy is directed at the person itself, not the thing around it.
Okay.
Okay. Again, well, yes, this approach is a memory evoking therapy, specifically a childhood memory evoking therapy. This therapy uses the early experiences of yours or someone's life as the narrative of your life story. These experiences, they shape, one's perceptions and worldviews of human development. And as well, this therapy gives the client the ability to explore the reasoning of others, like such as their parents and their siblings, roles and expectations in the family constellation. Uh, the application of this theory will be uh, presented to you in an auditorial learning method, and of questioning or information gathering. So that meaning that that's what we're doing now, because there are some therapies where people have to listen to different tapes, and you know what I mean, or use like a computer uh, programs to help or assist in the therapy process. Um, I just want to give you a little history before we start about this therapy. Dr. Alfred Adler uh, was the individual who was described as the first community psychologist, because he emphasized the importance of social interest, which he further describes as an internal feeling of connectedness to others and their well-being of the individual. So a lot of the questions I'm going to ask you is going to be about your family and your childhood experiences and things and so forth like that. So do you have any problems with those types of questions?
No.
Okay. So basically, so now that I have told you a little information about this therapy, Um, what would you like to talk about today?
Um, I wanted to talk about the relationship that I'm currently having um, with this guy. We've been dating now for almost probably about a year. Um, it's great. He treats me right. He's very respectful to myself, to my family. Um, but the only thing that concerns me right now is, he's not very helpful. And not necessarily saying that, I need him to help me with everything, because right now we're in a situation where he doesn't he doesn't technically live with me. This is like, I have my own place,
Mhm.
but he does, come here and it's pretty much here every single day. Um, Sleeps here, eats here, the whole 9 yards, pretty much as if he lives here. And, I'm stuck in a situation where I feel like he should help me, um, but he doesn't.
Mm.
And, you know, I've just been super stressed out lately, especially with school. And I'm trying to currently find a new job. Because I have two jobs right now, of course, to, pay everything that I have going on.
Mm.
But, I just feel like I need some type of help. And I don't really know how to go about approaching him, because I don't want it to feel like, I'm making him do something. And then, but at the same time, I just feel like, as a man, I feel like I shouldn't have to say, hey, you should, help me here and there, since you are here every single day.
Mm.
So it's just a lot I've been dealing with that. And, I'll talk about it with my sister, and she's a lot different from me. She'll, she'll just tell me, you need to just go ahead and say something. But like I said, I don't want to be rude because he doesn't really live here.
Right.
But like I said, at the same time, he's here every single day. So, you know, some of the household duties, don't get done whenever he's here.
Mm.
Um, I could be at work and let's just say today might be an off day for him. I can come back home, the same clothes are in the washing machine and haven't been dried. The same dishes are in the dishwasher. The room is a mess. Like everything, you name it. And then it's like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it because I guess it is my house. So I guess I just don't really know the approach, and it's starting to hinder our relationship.
Mm.
Um, like I said, I mean, we are still very close, and we work together too, but we're in two different departments, so we don't really get to see each other at work.
Right.
But I just feel like it's starting to affect the relationship, mainly because like I just kind of see, I don't know, I don't want to say a piss poor side of him, but
Mm.
I just kind of want to call it as I see it right now, because it's
Hey.
just something that is piss poor to me. I just feel like, if I'm not home and things need to be done, just go ahead and do it, and get it out of the way. You don't have to take the trash to the dumpster. You just got to sit it outside. I don't know. It's just like little things like that I'm just like, I feel like it's kind of taking me away from wanting to be with him any further, because I do see myself having a future with him. But like I said, and I know it's still really early right now, it's just like, okay, well, if you're doing this now, you're probably going to be doing this later. So I'm just kind of having this constant battle
Mm.
in my head on like, what do I need to do? Because I'll come home and I'll be anxious and I'll have anxiety because I just have a lot of thoughts going on in my head. So that's just kind of where I'm at.
Sounds like a lot, So let me just replay this so I can just make sure that we're on the same page. Basically, you're in a new relationship,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and you like this relationship. As you know, this relationship has good features, but at the same time, it has some. We'll term it as questionable, not
Mm-hmm.
bad, but
Mhm.
questionable.
Yes,
Um,
that's fine.
yeah, some questionable items about it. Continuing, you're saying that in this relationship, he primarily stays there a lot, but it's not his residence. And
Mhm.
you know what I mean? And he should be responsible for some of the, the house duties and maybe even financial duties of it. I mean, am I on the same page with this, or
Yes, yes,
you know?
that's correct. That's where I'm coming from.
So yeah, that really can be a tough place, and in the beginning of relationships, you're trying to figure out each other. You're trying to really, you know, see what each other are about. Um, if I would like to ask you, where did you learn about a relationship? Was your parents married? And
Yes, I learned about relationships through, of course, my parents. My parents are still married. And they've been married for about 30 plus years. So they've been married a long time. Um, my mom, I mean, I never really seen my parents argue much. Not to say that they were perfect, because they were nowhere near perfect. I mean, it was never to a point where it was anything physical. If it was a verbal altercation, it was what it was, and then that was it. But for the most part, they worked through everything, just fine. And then I do have an older sister. She's 12 years older than me. And she's married as well, and has been married since I was in middle school. So I have that relationship to look at as well. Um,
is
I
it
mean,
just
those are,
you and your sister? I'm sorry. Is it
yes,
you and your sister?
yes, it's just yeah, my sister and I.
Okay.
And like I said, those are really the main relationships that I do look at and try to model.
Hmm.
Um, and I do have hopes of one day being married and having kids, because I don't have any kids right now, and like I said, I'm not married, but I want to work towards that. And this is the first relationship I've been in 2 years.
Mm.
Um, and mainly because I have a very low tolerance for, like, just for
I guess.
anything that is just not right. I
I
just
get
have a very low tolerance for it.
I get
So, I am very quick to, be interested in someone, and then it's like, okay, no, like, you are not what I want. Like, I have no problem with moving on.
mm,
But, with this person, like I said, I can see myself being very similar to my mom and dad, or my sister and my brother-in-law. But I know that there are some kinks that we kind of need to, work out. And right now I just don't know how to approach it,
mm,
because I don't want to come off and seem like I'm making him do something.
mm,
And then at the same time, I'm wondering, like, I guess it's a part of me that's kind of scared, that's like, okay, well, what if I address the situation and it's like he's like, oh no, that's fine, I can leave.
mm.
So I guess that's kind of what I'm scared of. I mean, I'm not afraid of being alone, um, at all, because I was clearly not in a relationship for 2 years. But
Mhm.
it's just like a part of me that is just like, okay, do I address it or do I not address it? Or how do I say it? How do I address the situation, and without it being confrontational, or me, ending up not having somebody.
I get you. I get you. So, I guess the easy thing about it, right, would be like, oh, okay, just say it, right? But then,
Mm-hmm.
okay, you say it, and then nothing happens, right?
Right.
And then you say it again, and nothing happens, right? We're just, just assumptions, right?
Yeah.
So then now you start feeling even more disengaged of the matter.
And that's where I'm at right now.
Got you.
I'm trying my hardest not to be. I even got so pissed off like a couple weeks ago. I come in from work, I worked all day, and I come in the house,
Hmm.
and there's nothing done. So I'm pissed. I'll just walk in the house and I don't say nothing because I clearly see the same dishes that were there from the night before. So I walk in the house and I'm quiet and I don't say anything. I go take a shower. I go do homework. I do everything. And then I start cleaning the house. I just start doing everything that needs to be done. And then he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, nothing. Nothing. Like, I'm good because I know the kind of person that I am. Like, I'm a really sweet person, but when I'm mad, like, I just would rather just let me have my moment and then maybe we can talk about it later if I feel like addressing it. But at that point, I just didn't feel like addressing it because I just felt like, that it was just so messed up that, I feed you, you got a place to stay. Like, how can you not just do the simplest things that, like I said, I shouldn't have to ask you? I mean, even when in situations like, you asked me about my mom, like my mom and dad. My dad works right now and my mom is retired. The house is clean. Like my mom, of course, I mean, she's not by any means like a housewife or anything, but of course she's going to make sure the house is clean. She has his food, whatever. I mean, my dad doesn't have to come home to some mess and it's like, all right, what's going on here? Same with my sister. Like my sister works right now. My brother-in-law isn't. My brother-in-law, of course, takes care of everything at the house, make sure the kids are good because my sister's working.
Right.
And I'm just like, now I feel like, if they have an understanding and I guess some type of communication, where is it to where, I can't have the same thing. I mean, even though our relationship is very fresh and new, I just feel like some of that is common sense. Like, why don't you know? Like, did your mom not teach you? Or
That's
are
a very
not thinking
interesting
about that?
That is a very interesting point that you just made. Did your mama teach you that, right? So just bringing it back to you, where you learned certain items of relationships and things and so forth, when you were, observing and learning and modeling behind these relationships, wasn't one of the items that you learned or that you observed were the creation of boundaries? And through those boundaries that things are put in place to make the relationship move forward, because when those boundaries are understood, then you're understood. So this is a relationship that maybe those boundaries that you may have to put up to try to not really explain or but show by example that I don't have to deal with this. You got what I'm saying? Like it's like almost to the point where when you place these boundaries, people know what you want. But when you do these, you got to be consistent and you got to be in place. Don't just because you're upset that day. You know what I mean? And I could tell that you pretty much probably are consistent about a lot of those items of letting your feelings be known. But you can have a relationship where he could come and go and you could come and go and things and so forth. But then you got to question and say, well, you know what? This is a relationship that I want and something that I want to move forward with. So when I was using the word boundaries, those boundaries will also help create foundations of understandings. You know what I mean? Like, it's like now, okay, I really understand what she's saying because of, your requests and the boundaries that you have placed, the positive boundaries. People think when they say, oh, it's a boundary that you're putting your hands up and you're blocking. No, No, actually, what you're doing is that you're creating a path for almost like a guided imagery for that person to follow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so just learning these relationships that from learning about relationships from your parents and your sister, and they sound like they're very strong people. Sometimes even the things that you may have seen and observed may not be applicable for you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you would just have to just think about, how can I, you know, uh, get the results that I want with this situation
Mm-hmm.
without hurting his feelings or
Yeah.
making things tense or things and so forth.
And I
Uh,
think that's what I'm so worried about, because we've even had like just a random conversation, and he was telling me the other day how he went and played basketball with his boys or whatever, and then they ended up betting. Like, I just thought it was really silly that, they ended up like betting on the little basketball game that they played, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I lost $100 with that," and I'm just like,
mm,
"You lost $100 betting
mm,
a basketball game, but that could have been $100 towards a bill,
mm,
towards some groceries. I
mm,
mean, towards anything for here,
mm,
and I'm just like, where are your priorities?" And
mm,
I mean, I know he has, and then like, I guess another part too, I guess one of the reasons why I haven't really addressed it yet, is because I know he's going through a situation where he's going to have to go to court and pay a lawyer like X amount of money. So I guess like right now I'm just trying to be sensitive
mm,
and knowing, okay, well, I know he has this coming up.
mm,
I don't want to sit here and be, asking like, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? When I know you have something that's coming up and it's going to take a huge chunk
mm,
from you. But when you are playing basketball games and betting $100, I'm just like, what are you doing?
mm.
So
Let me ask you
I,
this.
mhm,
With your mother, did you
mhm.
ever notice any kind of like similar um actions like what you're doing now? You know, have you ever noticed like, oh, for instance, dad may have spent some money that wasn't, supposed to be spent, it was budgeted for this, that, and third.
Mhm.
Mom didn't feel as though that money should have went there. Did
Yeah.
Yeah, did you notice that like in, your child?
Not in my childhood. Well, I mean, I guess you could say, well, it was mainly more so college,
Okay.
like my undergrad. And
Okay.
that's when I would get to, of course, I understood what was going on then.
Mhm.
Not so much as a child, because of, then I didn't know anything as far as like money, who was paying for what.
Mhm.
Not until about my, freshman, sophomore year, in college, while I was getting my undergrad, would I, you know, see things like that, and then I eventually moved out. But I did see similar situations to where, my dad would use money for other things, and mom's like, okay, that's for a bill. But I guess the difference was, she would say something. And I don't know. I mean, they, like I said, they've been together for years too. So, she kind of already knows how to get through to him and
Mhm.
what to say and how to say it. Whereas, myself, I'm not married, and I'm still trying to figure out, without being rude, because I don't want to be rude.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure out, how to voice it and say it in a way that is not mean, because I can come off sometimes and be mean and not even realize that I'm being mean, or
Mhm.
somebody would think that I'm,
Mhm.
um so I'm just trying to be careful with that, and like I say, and be sensitive to the fact that I know that he has something coming up,
Mhm.
I do feel eventually, like I said, right now, I'm just kind of getting tired of it, that it will be addressed very soon. I don't know how that conversation is going to go, but
Mhm.
it's something that I know needs to be held, because it'll be times when he walks in and
Mhm.
I'm annoyed
Mhm.
instantly, because I'm just like, you sat here all day long and didn't do anything.
So, in the evaluation of where you're learning relationships, and you mentioned that both of these relationships, that the individuals have been together for a length of time.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout that process, there must, like you said, there must have been some uh, form of communication between the parties, that whereas there's an understanding.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can just entertain the ideal that if you are able to, you know, really take a look at this, your situation, and say, okay, well, if this is what I really want, then I'm going to have to, approach it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and just think about how you can gently, I guess that's one of the words you've used as well, gently, without trying to hurt anybody's feelings, because if you hurt someone's feelings, you're not, things aren't going to be accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're dealing with those issues, and and things and so forth. So um just try to just really, first of all, make the decision of what you're going to do,
Mm-hmm.
because you know if you don't do it, then you're going to get the same results. If you do
Right.
do it, you may get a different result. So it's something just that you could take a look at,
Mm-hmm.
and just pretty much just take your time with the thoughts and with the situation, as far as like how the way you want to put it together, you know.
Yeah.
Because if you rush and if you hastily say things, it may not go a good way. And I I I think that we both don't want that for you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything else, like as far as like you want to talk about your relationship and your family and things and so forth, and how they affect it, or how they how can I say it, shape your ideal of relationships? Is there anything else you would like to add or talk?
No. No. Like I said, the main relationships that I do look at, of course, is my mom and dad and my sister and my brother-in-law, and both of those relationships have showed me,
Mhm.
what it's supposed to look like, or how it could possibly look at. They're not perfect, but both relationships are definitely something to be able to take and learn from. So.
Yeah. And as well, like you said, when you talk to your sister had given you some advice.
Mhm.
It's all right to talk to others, and get their, ideal about, what the, how, what ideals they got of relationships. I'm not saying giving you advice for you to change your mind, but just to, an assistance
Mhm.
to help you come to a decision. Because at the end of the day, your decisions are your decisions.
Mhm.
So with that, since there isn't anything you want to talk about anymore, do you think next week we can set up a meeting just to continue this conversation about, the relationship, and, maybe the things that you have done to not feel the way that you're feeling today?
Mhm. That sounds fine.
That'd be good.
Yes.
Okay. So I thank you for coming today, and,
Thank you. Thank you.